It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
One just has to pick up a magazine or turn on a television to see that as women, we are bombarded, daily with media images of female physical perfection, setting up the most unrealistic of expectations as to how we should look. No wonder female body confidence is falling while incidents of eating disorders are on the rise. What's most alarming is the way this affects young girls. A reduced sense of self-worth can create anxiety, stress, even depression, causing relationship issues while potentially impairing academic and job performance. In direct contrast, my podcast, Get Confidence in Bloom, is designed to reinforce the truth and reassure every woman who has ever felt inadequate, unworthy, or tossed aside because of how she looks that no matter her age, shape, or background, you matter. You are enough now. I, Tina Spolatini, a woman of substance, insist women deserve to be happy, confident, successful, and totally in love with themselves in their own bodies just the way they are. Through an ongoing series of intriguing conversations with women from all walks of life who are all extraordinary in their own right, we will embark upon a journey of ultimate self-acceptance and empowerment. Together we'll share the stories, laugh, learn, maybe even shed a few tears when it becomes clear just how far many women have come to realize how wonderful life is when you stand in your own power, feeling fantastic in your own skin. Nicole Cowley is my guest today. Nicole is a dynamic transformational coach with a passion for guiding individuals towards their fullest potential. Armed with certifications in hypnotherapy, life coaching, health coaching, and personal training, alongside a degree of medical sociology and psychology, Nicole brings a unique blend of expertise to her practice. Nicole focuses her efforts on empowering female entrepreneurs, helping them to cultivate the identity and mindset necessary to pursue their deepest aspirations, firmly believing in the boundless potential within every individual. She champions the transformative power of the mind and works tirelessly to unlock her clients' innate abilities. In addition to her coaching practice, Nicole is a sought-after speaker, captivating audiences with her inspiring message of empowerment and resilience. She has graced online and live stages across the country, sharing her insights on personal growth, mindset mastery, and overcoming adversity. As the proud owner of Next Step with Nicole Renee, Nicole has created a secure and supportive space for clients to explore their potential, foster a growth mindset, and craft lives of freedom and success. Through her guidance and support, Nicole empowers individuals to embrace their authentic selves, break through barriers, and create the lives they've always dreamed of. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you, Tina, so much.
Okay, so you have a lot under your belt. So I'm going to start. First, I want to know, what is, hypnotherapy exactly? I've heard of hypnosis, but what is hypnotherapy?
So hypnotherapy, which is kind of different than what most people would think of with hypnosis. I know a lot of people with hypnosis picture it as being, in the entertainment field where you see people on stages and then people are acting like chickens or, jumping on tables. They've had a hypnotist do that to them. But what I do is I use hypnosis for transformation. So I help people really actually take the power back within their mind to create the life they want. And most of the time, I'm really just unhypnotizing people more than hypnotizing people. I'm helping them take programs out that they've had for many, many years that do not serve them and help install programs that are actually going to get them to where they want to go.
Okay, so basically you're going to the limited beliefs that we all have and you're telling them that now you can leave because you're of no service to us.
100%. And, many of us, I don't think I know anybody that doesn't have limiting beliefs. And majority of the things that we believe that do limit us are usually not true, but they're perception, and it's what we've believed for a long time. And many of them come from the time we were really young, from, newborns to about age 6 to 10. We take in a lot of stories of what the world is all about based on our parents, teachers, people that are in our community, because we need to. We need to learn about the world, and who best to learn it from is the people that are around you. But many times those stories will cause us to not be able to live into who we want to be. We're often taking on other people's stories, other people's views of life, and when we get them installed in our mind, those stories take us on a journey that may not be the journey we were meant to go on.
Right. And so when you say, really we're creating these limiting beliefs based on someone else's story.
Usually almost most of the time. Now, they could be somebody else's story that we perceived a certain way, so they may have not intended it to be that way at all. In fact, most of the time when parents or teachers or whoever is surrounding children are, most of the time the intention is 100% with love and kindness and, guidance, like trying to give the best guidance. And what can happen is either one thing that, their stories are their stories still that they haven't worked through, or that we perceive it in a certain way which they never meant for us to perceive. So it's just stories that often that we take that we take in when we're really young that become kind of our guidance to where we're going to, or where we're going and who we're going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, totally. Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's for example, the things that I said to my kids, I would have said to them, this is not a good idea based on my experience. And so then they believe that, and it becomes part of their system that gets them through their life. But that's based on my experience, and they could have taken that information and, gone wild with it and created, a new world kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. Yeah, and actually, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and those stories, and that was such a good example of how we do that as parents, right? We're always trying to guide them based on what we feel is right, and sometimes it works for us, and sometimes it does not. But we try to give them those things. But what we say as parents, it's so important. And I truly wish I would have known this when when my children were really little, to know that the words that I am speaking are often so deeply implanted due to our brainwave state when we're really young. There's a lot of science behind it, but due to our brainwave state when we were really young, those suggestions go deep into our subconscious mind. And when they go deep into our subconscious mind and are heard over and over again, because that's how we learn through repetition, they become ours. And whether we want them or not, they often become ours. And so, for example, one of my mentors, I remember she was talking about that she was taking her daughter to school one day, and they were in the car, and she was late, or she was not getting in the car yet. She was late, and she kept saying, "You're always so late. You're always so late." And so she finally got in the car, and then the little girl went to go into school and forgot her lunch in the car. And so she came running back, and she said, once she started to understand what she was saying to her, she was about to say, "You always forget things. You're so forgetful." And she paused for a moment, and she said, "Look at you. You remembered to come back to get your lunch. How amazing. Your memory's amazing." Because we can have stories of "you're always so late. You always forget things." These are things that we say as parents, not on purpose. We're frustrated at the time. But those stories, if you take them on, that you are always late, that you are always forgetting things, that can actually play out into your adulthood and actually play into all the things. So you do end up being late at everything. You do start to forget things because you believe that is who you are.
Oh, that's super cool. I would have never put the two together.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So yeah. So what's so important though is like exactly how she reframed it. Instead of saying to her daughter when she was coming back to the car, like, you always forget your lunch. Like, you've got to be more on top of it. Let's go, right? She said, look at you. You came back and you got it and you remembered it. Your memory is incredible. And what was amazing from this is that she said from then on, her daughter never forgot her lunch anymore. She just remembered because she was one of those people that remembers to do things. Her memory is incredible.
Wow. I love that story. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder how I was with my kids. I don't remember.
I don't know. I know for sure I've said many times, we're running late. How come you were so late? I know I've said that for sure.
Oh, I'm sure I've said it too. Because I used to drive my kids, right? And so,
yeah. Me too.
And that's funny. Wow. That's so super cool.
Yeah.
So how do you know when to use hypnotherapy? Or does the client come to you and say, okay, I want you to hypnotize me to fix my problem? Is it something that, like, not everybody wants that or not everybody needs that? Am I right?
Well, you know what, actually, I would say that most people that come to see me are open to training their mind. So understanding how powerful the mind is, and hypnotherapy is actually just a tool to train the mind. So it's just like if you wanted to get healthy and you were going to go to the gym and you want your body to be as strong as possible, you would go to the gym and you would do whatever your instructor tells you to do, and you use the weights and all those things, and you would eventually get stronger. Well, the mind is also a muscle that we often have never trained. In fact, most people have never thought of training their mind and just do their day haphazardly, every day waking up, just doing their same routine, because that has a lot to do with the way our mind works. We often work in habit every single day. And yet we see things that we want, like something that we aspire to, and we can't figure out how come we can't get there. And it's because our mind is often on autopilot of the same life over and over again. So if we want to have something different in our life, a new goal, an aspiration, something that we just desire, we have to start thinking differently, because the way we've thought for a long time has created the life we have right now. And if we want to have something different, we have to think differently. And so what hypnosis is, and coaching, so I don't just use hypnosis, there's a whole bunch of tools that I use within coaching. With those together, we start to train their mind to be able to go after their goals, to be able to get it to their dreams, so that they're no longer saying, I can't figure out why I can't get there. I don't get it. I want this, but I never seem to get there.
Okay, so I'm going to use myself as an example here. Let's say, so I don't like exercise, right? I don't like it.
Right.
And when I plan it, like, I'll put it in the calendar, I'll get my bag ready, like, I'll be ready to go. And then when it's time to go, I'm like, no, I don't feel like doing something that I don't want to do. What would you do with me other than beat me and drive me to the gym yourself?
Yeah, no, and that's such a great question. So it starts with the very first thing you said is, I don't like exercise. So that is something that's like in your subconscious already. So that's a deep program, right? It's something like if I repeat that over and over again, I don't like exercise, and I'll put us through the path of your thought always creates your thought always creates your emotions, your actions, behaviors, results. So if your thought is and we always are causing our effects, right? Our thoughts cause our results. So if my thought is, I don't like exercise, I really don't like exercise, it becomes our story. It becomes who we are. So then when you go to do it, your subconscious mind will be like, hold up, don't do this. This is not who we are. We don't like exercise. We're not going to do it. So it becomes a really hard thing, because you may have it all planned. Consciously, you're like, yes, I want to. I'm getting my shoes. I've bought my shoes. I've got my workout clothes. I've even bought the membership. And you may even force yourself to go a few times, right? You start to go. But then very soon after that, you're like, I'm not getting up. I don't want to do this. This isn't what I want, because your subconscious mind has a program that this is not you. So what I help people do is create the identity of a person who loves to move their body, who loves to feel a certain way, who wants to show up a way, because our identity, who we believe we are, we become. And so I really work on the identity part of who we are, so that, like, you can think of things that you love to do that are easy for you to do. It's because you believe that is who you are. It's not even a problem for you. In fact, most of the time you probably don't even think about it when you have something you love to do, because it is who you are. But when it is not who you are, yet you want to achieve that goal or you want to do something, we create your identity. So we get into who you believe you are. I help create the identity so that now it becomes a habit of who you are. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. And you would use, like hypnotherapy you would use, as well as other types of coaching, right? In order for me, because repetition is the key, am I right?
100%. So hypnotherapy you use every single day. So when I create hypnosis tracks for my clients, which are very personalized, so we sit down and we figure out exactly the life you want. Like, we map it out, like how you act every day, the way you wake up, the interactions you're going to have, the job you're going to go to, your health, like how that looks. Like, we map this out, and then I build a beautiful hypnosis that you listen to every single day. And why hypnosis works is it gets you into a brainwave state from, when you were little, 0 to age 6. We're in a certain brainwave state where we can take in new information and do that. Hypnosis helps us go back to that brainwave state so that we can reprogram our mind and start to move in the direction that we want to go. But you listen to that hypnosis track every single day. And they're usually between 15 and 20 minutes, but they're amazing because the more you listen to it, the more your mind goes, oh, we actually love to move. Oh, I actually am getting up. And then you start to see your life being like, you start to see yourself from almost the outside looking in at all your habits that you have not loved, that haven't taken you to where you want to go, and you start to change them because your mind is like, no, we actually love this.
Oh, I love that idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, that could work for pretty much anything, right? Like
anything. For your health, like your wealth, relationships,
for
anything.
Health. Yeah, I really like that. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so for a relationship, Nicole, how does that work? Because, I mean, a relationship is, two people or more.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, I can fix me, but I can't fix, I say the word fix, but I mean, there's, if issues are happening on both sides of the relationship, yes, I can fix my issues because I'm in control, but I don't have control over the other person.
Correct.
How do you manage that? Like, how do you fix relationships with this?
So the main thing when I work with people in relationships is building the relationship with you first. So actually being able to get to understand how you work, because it doesn't necessarily matter what the outside, well, it never really matters necessarily what the outside is doing, but it's how you respond and you act within the relationship yourself. So what I always do is we work on you first so that you aren't just reacting. You aren't just doing things. You're actually seeing things from a different perspective instead of your own one way of looking at things. And so we start to work on self-love, self-compassion. We work on your identity of how you want to show up in a relationship, who you want to be, how. So what happens is with the other person that's in the relationship is that they will start to change based on the way you are, if that makes sense, because we're a ripple effect. So when we start to do things for ourselves and we start to behave in a certain way that enhances our value, our love, our compassion, all of those things, we can't help but start to affect the person that's in our life. Now, what will happen with that person is they will either love the way we are starting to do things or not love the way we are starting to do things. And that will be 100% up to them. But with us, we will take control of the way we respond, what we love, and who we are. So we'll make choices who we hang out with. We'll make choices of what we believe we are tolerating in our life, like boundaries, all of those kind of things. We start to do that and take control of us. And then the rest just kind of falls into place. So the right people will stay, the wrong people will go. Those kind of things will happen. But again, it's not about controlling somebody else. It's about what can I do with what I have to live my best life for me right now.
Right. And when it comes to relationship, control really is a swear word.
It's 100%, right? So it's about just you. Like, it's about you. So we always want to make sure that we're not waiting for someone else to change. We're not waiting for the person to do what they need to do in order for us to be able to be okay. We have to do it ourselves and make sure we're great. And then everything falls into place, because we're no longer, when we don't ask for other people to show up in a certain way, we have to be the one to show up first. I say it in relationships all the time too. It's like, if you're looking for somebody in your life, like you're wanting to build a relationship with somebody in your life, to become that person that you're looking for first, because like always attracts like. And so when you're really wanting to find somebody who's loyal and kind and adventurous and all the things, whatever your list is, which could be a multitude of things, I always challenge us to become that first. Because when you're that, you're not asking somebody to fill you up. You're asking them to walk beside you and enjoy life with you.
I love that. I love that. And I feel like you were talking about my daughter there. She's had to do a lot of, self-work. And I've noticed such a huge change in her. Like, it's, and I feel like what you just said is what she had to learn. So would you would use, this is what you call transformative hypnosis then?
Correct.
This is like you're taking from one. Now, you had said something about, I can't remember how you said it, but so the limiting beliefs that you work on, do they actually disappear, or do they sort of sit and linger at the back of your mind and slowly creep in again? Or does this, depending on, I guess, on the work you do, they can disappear, right?
Yeah, so what will happen for the most part is they'll lay more dormant, right? So they're just not there as much anymore. So you're more apt to use the new belief versus the old belief. So more often you'll realize, oh, that used to bother me. Now it doesn't bother me as much anymore. Like, you'll start to understand, you'll start to see in your world that you are acting in a different way. And when you start to act in a different way on a regular basis, so habitually, right? So you start to do the same thing over and over again in a new way, in a better way for you, that you'll see information that used to travel, like the trigger that you used to get, that used to make you react so quickly and so fast. You'll be like, that doesn't even bother me anymore. How is that? And it's because of the repetition. Now, I can't say that it's always gone forever, because some of them are kind of deep in there, because we'll have certain triggers in our life that we just didn't even, that would trigger us, right? That come into our life at a certain point. But what we will always have is the ability to take a step back, ask ourselves the question, why is this bothering me? Which is one of the number one things is awareness. Why is it bothering me? And then asking ourselves, is it true? It's true. And that's one of the most important things, because most of the times it is not true. And if that thought that you have is not taking you to where you want to go, why are you keeping it? So why are you keeping the limiting belief? Why are you doing that? So I hope that makes sense, but it's just what starts to happen. Your life starts to evolve. You start to have new beliefs that take you forward, and some of them are way more powerful than they were before, and you'll start to see your life just starts to evolve. But one thing I don't want to leave out is that the really important thing is action. So we can talk about our new beliefs, we can talk about what we want to do, but we need to act in accordance to our new beliefs so that it reaffirms the belief. So if you want to feel strong, you want to do things in a strong way, and that way will reinforce the belief. Or if you want to be compassionate, you want to act in a compassionate way, and that compassion, every time you act with a compassionate way, it reaffirms, I am compassionate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's just the whole, like, even like the exercise example, right? I could believe that I'm an exercise guru, but if I don't actually go to the gym and exercise,
correct,
then my mind still believes, right, that even if I'm saying it, I have to actually do it in order for my mind to, that totally makes
100%.
sense.
100%. And, when it comes to exercise, a lot of times it could be even just like a 10-minute walk, right? A 10-minute walk every day. I'm starting on that 10-minute walk, but that walk is reaffirming I move. I move my body. I love to move, right? So it doesn't have to be massive at the beginning. In fact, I never encourage people to do things that are so out from where they've normally been. But just that small action will reaffirm the beliefs, and then they just become more powerful over time.
Right. And so there's other things than exercise that, a person would use hypnosis for, but would you say something like exercise would be like, if it's done at the same time every day, right? Like there's journaling and there's, self-reflection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it help when it's at the same time every day, or is it more like if it's random, it works actually better? Like, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, no. So as a health coach too, right? So and as a personal trainer, one of the things that does help is to set a time every day just so that it becomes a habit. Because we're habitual. Like as creatures, like humans, we love habit, and that's how we can form things really well. So it is good to have it be a certain time of day when you first start. I encourage people to do it at a certain time and to block off the time and actually make a commitment not only to me but to themselves that they're going to do it at this certain time. But when you're using hypnosis along with it, you actually start to want to do it, which is just such a new way of looking at it, right? Not that I have to do it. I actually want to do it because this is who I am now. Like, I'm this healthy person. This is the way I see my life. This is who I am. I show up with energy. I put great energy food into me. All of those things, right, start to become who you are. And so I do suggest at the beginning to have a bit of a system in place, because habits help us form it. And then once it is formed, you can move things around a little bit because you just know you're always going to come back to it. You're not as nervous about it because it's part of your life, right? So it's not like if you can't work it at that time that day that everything's broken by any means. You're just like, oh, I know I'm going to get into it today at a certain point. When I have the 30 minutes, I will do it.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so so that just reaffirms the whole new belief. So are your clients then mostly entrepreneur women, or do you, because I think we had talked about you also talk with teenagers.
Yeah, I do. I work with women and I work with teenagers, and actually I work with some men too. So this is, the work I do is not necessarily only based on female, male, or, age or anything. If you have limiting beliefs and you want to do something that you have not done before, and it's a goal and it's an aspiration, and you just want to feel joy and you want to feel happiness again, and maybe you're even going through, and many people come to me when they're going through a transition in their life, like a new job, kids are moving out of the home, they're going through a divorce, they've had a loss in their life, they're actually transitioning to a new chapter. A lot of people come to me for that, and so I really help people build like the confidence again, the self-esteem again, the trust in themselves again, so that they can live their most authentic life, live into who they want to be without having any regrets.
Okay, so I like that. So I'm going to ask you, so right now, after COVID, I mean, COVID's not really finished. It's not over, but I mean, everyone has sort of gotten back to life. There are many people who are suffering because of COVID. And I don't mean like the actual COVID, but I mean like I guess it's like the after effect, right? Like, where they went through like a major depression and they're having a hard time getting back into, like a normal life. Like they're afraid of people, or they're afraid of, whatever they're, because we're all going through different issues. How do you, I'd like to know what kind of steps you take to make these people sort of back to what they used to be. I don't know if life can ever really be back to what it used to be. I think this is sort of our new normal. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are suffering, like my son, for example. He does not want to be around people, right? Well, he picks and chooses, right, where he can go. How do you handle that? Like, how do you help these people?
Well, it's such a good question. And yes, I mean, so many people suffered hugely during that time and because they, their life was so about going to school every day, being able to see people. And then the media messages about the danger of people, like being around people and the journey, so many things really got into their mind. And when you hear things over and over on repeat, it can often cause our body to react, our nervous system to react in a place of protection. And we go into that fight and flight mode. And so many people are in that fight and flight mode quite often, just from regular life, period. But what I do with people that have gone through a lot of these things is, first of all, come with compassion. The number one thing is to understand that it's not their fault that they feel this way. It is not, it's not something wrong with them. That's the one thing I always make sure I'm really clear. It's not something wrong with them. It's just that we need to start thinking in a new way. And so what I do is I really help them. I ask them to many, many questions and different things to help find out what the beliefs are, like what it is that, and it's not the event. So it's not necessarily COVID, it was the meaning they made out of it. So it wasn't the event, but it's the meaning. And because we're meaning-making machines, we're going to do that in order to keep safe, right? Whatever the mind constantly wants us to be safe. Its number one job is to help us be safe. And so that is exactly what I would do is, ask the questions and then help knock the kind of the legs out of those beliefs out so that they can start to believe things that they want to believe again, the way they want to live again, the way they want to see life again. And I can absolutely help them do that. But it's by changing the way we see it, empowering our mind, the mind muscle to see things differently, and then living through that. Again, baby steps, right? Little steps at a time, but those little steps add up to be huge in the end.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I guess you would go through the same steps as for anything. Are teenagers easy to work with?
You know what's amazing about teenagers? Yes, there's going to be two things on this. A yes and a no. A yes in the fact that they haven't had as many years as adults to live out a story that didn't serve them. And so many times when I'm working with people in their 30s and over, we've had stories for a long time of what is possible, what we can do, and it's been, ingrained in us. So we're more deeply programmed, if that makes sense. Whereas teenagers haven't had as many years of that. They haven't had it ingrained in them that long. And so they're very open, and that's the other thing. They're more open to learning. They're more open to finding out new things. They just are. The only thing that I think with teenagers that I have to remind ourselves with is that it takes consistency. It takes a little bit of discipline. It takes a little bit of work, which a lot of teens, struggle with. And so I work with them on this. But once I build an identity, help build the identity of a person who is consistent, who is disciplined, who is strong, who is empowered, they often are flying. They fly. But it just sometimes takes a little bit of time with teens in the fact that they are not used to doing this kind of work.
Right. And so do you find that, I don't know if it's ego, but, teenagers tend to, they don't think their parents know anything. And, do you find that attitude sort of interferes with their change? Or if they're sitting in your chair, they're willing to put that aside?
Yeah, you know what? What you said is so true. I think as parents, and this is, I've felt it with my kids always, is that when I go to say it, it doesn't count as much as when somebody else goes to say it. So
yes, we've all learned that, right? Yes. And so when I have them, most of the time, honestly, they're willing to try it. Sometimes they're hesitant. I've had some that it's been like trying to crack an eggshell a little bit to get into that, into where they want, the trust, right? The trust to trust me, because it is about trust. It's about trusting that, it's okay to talk to somebody. They have so many beliefs as a teenager of what's cool, what's not cool, all of those things. And so, I really work hard on the trust aspect, and that they feel that they can confide in me and all of that. But I believe very much that often they're different with somebody else versus their own parent. Yeah. And I think every parent would admit to that, right? Because I know my kids, I would have never expected it, but they all turned on me when they became teenagers. I'm like, what happened? We were best friends yesterday.
Yeah, well, and you know what? Actually, Tina, what's so funny? I remember when one of my children was going through something, and I had the best advice I'd ever been given, and it was because I was struggling at the time to make sure they were going to be okay, and the advice I got was, work on yourself first and then everything will fall into place. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm always the one leading the way, right? And so if I understand me and how I'm talking and what I'm saying and what I'm doing, I'll be much more beneficial to my child who's going through the thing. So when I work even with the teens, a lot of times I invite a parent in to have a conversation so that they're always in the know of what's happening, both for themselves and for their teen as well.
Right. Oh, that's probably like, the best idea, because parents don't want to be left out, right? I mean, I wouldn't. If my son was sitting in your chair, I'd be like, no, I want to know what you're telling him, right?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, he's 17. Yeah. I wonder, like, if you have a teenager sitting in your chair at 17, is that sort of like he's kind of legal to do it on his own, right? There's a lot of confidentiality that comes in with it in order to build the trust and be able to actually express what they need to express. And so it's really important to me that they trust me. And then, there's different ethical rules that come in about, like, if they were ever going to elder someone else, that would be a different story. And that actually has to definitely, to a parent. But at a certain point when they're getting into those teen years, the trust of being able to share these things so that they can heal from them it's a fine line on all the things when you're working with younger ones. But the most important is that, that they're never going to harm themselves or harm someone else. And, but from there on, we always discuss whether the parents can come in and hear a little bit or, talk a lot about those things, because I really do believe they deserve a lot of respect when it comes to their own autonomy and their way of being. Yeah, I have to agree with you. Well, it sounds like super interesting, right? And like I'm kind of I don't know what the word is. Like, I feel empowered and encouraged to tell, like, all people who are suffering with, if I didn't feel this way, then maybe I could move forward. I want to tell everyone to come and talk with you. So now obviously you can't talk to everyone because, there's never enough time in the day for that. But what is, like, if you could tell our listeners, like, if you're dealing with something that you're trying to change and you're struggling on your own, what would you tell them? Yeah, well, first of all is I always come back to compassion. First of all, is just to give yourself a break. That, life is challenging and there's lots of things that we need to give ourselves a break on, because it's, we're navigating lots of new things, and especially in this world now, it's moving very quickly. There's lots of stuff going on. But the main thing is, if they're really struggling on things right now, number one, most of the time it's not our fault. It's just think, right? It's just a certain way we have been thinking. The other thing I always say is reach out to somebody that you trust to be there for you, because trying to do these things, I don't believe we're meant to do everything on our own at all. I think there's so many people that are willing to be there for you. So reach out for sure. Like, that's what I would say. And also the last thing I would love to say is that it can be 100% different than what you think it is right now. My life changed and started over 9 years ago, and I will tell you, at the time, I never thought that I would be okay, or that everything was going to be all right, or that I would ever be living into my passions or doing my dream or any of that. It was a really, really tough time in my life, and I will tell you, when you do this work, when you start to figure out how powerful you really are, like your inner power, when you find out what it is, your whole life can change. Everything can. Yeah, I have to agree with you. And the thing is, my grandma used to always say to me, everything happens for a reason. Now, I've had many, different definitions and explanations of that little saying. But the truth is, I mean, I'm religious, so I will say God has a plan, and everything we go through, God has planned out for us, right? So where you are right now is exactly where you need to be, right? Yeah.
I do believe, that everything comes and goes. So even in our darkest days, the greatest days are on their way. So, everything is showing us often. I find very often, and with myself, is that on, our most challenging times, we're always finding something brand new inside of us. Something is being birthed inside of us that we didn't even know was there until we were in it. You can't see the light without the dark. And so I really believe that, with every single challenge, we're becoming more of who we are, that you need some help along the way to find it, to feel it, and to know it.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nicole. I know there's many questions I have about the hypnotherapy, but I think you've answered the most of them, or the most important of them. I'm really interested to see how, you're going to change the world, because we're going to have a lot more people living the life that they deserve to be living, and that's going to make the world happy. So thank you so much for all you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Tina, and thank you for what you are doing. I'm so in awe of all that you continue to do and create, and the beautiful messages that you are helping people take in, because you're doing very much, with when we talk about repetition with the mind, you continue to spread the message of joy and love and acceptance and all the beautiful things. So thank you so much. I was honored to be here today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Confidence in Bloom is a celebration of self-love, a confirmation that even though you may not look like a screen star or a supermodel, they don't even look like that. You are an amazing, desirable, brilliant, gorgeous, talented woman. We offer unconditional love to our partners, our children, our extended family, even our pets. It's high time we got out of our own way and learned to unconditionally love ourselves. In Full Bloom, Success Styling offers an online course combined with one-to-one coaching in confidence building, personal branding, and creating your signature fashion look. Chic definitely does come in every shape, so if you want something to believe in, start with yourself. If you'd like to be a guest here on Confidence in Bloom, contact me through Instagram at infobloomstyling, or by email at tina@infobloomstyling.com, or through the Divas That Care website.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.